Among us enjoyers of video games, I'd say particularly among us players who mostly just play, just kind of play them, have opinions about them. I don't know. There's this idea, there's this concept that I feel that I certainly and probably many of us, we feel it's this perfect thing. It's this perfect thing that we want to see happen more often, but it does not happen nearly enough. It's like this, I don't want to say quite white whale status, but it really is this thing that we hope for so badly, and we're always, it happens every once in a while, and when it does, it's so great because it just feels too perfect. And it is the idea of a big publisher having an old IP, maybe one they haven't used in a while, or maybe they have, whatever, just like they probably haven't made a game from this series for kind of a long time. Wow, those birds are going nuts. Do you hear those birds? What is going on? Birds, come on. Get out of here. Darn birds, ruining my life. At least it's not the Jays. My gosh, they're so loud. Birds, I deal with birds constantly. It's a birdhouse right there. Anyway, maybe this company hasn't made a game from this series for a long time. What should we do? I don't know. We're a big publisher and we're so busy. All of our development studios, all of our in-house ones, they're all working on big stuff. They're all working on big AAA games or whatever. Okay, so what do? We find an indie studio who has made a game similar to something from this series, this IP. Someone who has proven that they can make this kind of game and do it very well. And we grab them and we work with them and let them create a game in this series. We collaborate with an indie studio to make an actual, like, official entry in this series. That idea right there, it's something that's just, it's so beautiful and perfect when it happens. And it seems so obvious, especially with these giant companies, with all of these IPs. Sometimes they haven't touched them in years and years. And it's like, that for any one of these series, there are probably 500 indie studios out there who could do an amazing job with the series and would love to. Literally just like knock on their door, hey, you want to make this? They will jump at the chance. They will love to do it. Nintendo especially, they've had so many series that they haven't touched in a long time, so it's always like, oh, just give it to this person, give it to this studio, just this or that. Like, it's because it's such a good idea. And I know nothing is quite that simple. It isn't literally quite as simple as just knocking on their door and being like, do you want to make such and such game? But like, it definitely is something that could happen more often. So all of this to say, this is happening right now. There's a new 2D Ninja Gaiden game in development, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, and I've not played any Ninja Gaiden games. I don't have like a personal investment in the series itself, but I cannot help but notice that they're putting out a brand new one, but it's not 3D. They've done a bunch of 3D games, The series started 2D, and then as things went modern, everything went 3D. We've had 3D ones, and it's been a while since we've had a 2D one. So, what do? They go to Game Kitchen. Game Kitchen is the studio that made Blasphemous and Blasphemous 2. Now, in case you are not super familiar with Blasphemous, I love talking about Blasphemous, so I gotta sum it up a little bit, just take this chance to just kind of talk about something I love. I haven't played the second one, but I love the first one. I actually finally got a chance to replay it this year. It's just incredibly good. It's kind of Metroidvania. It's kind of Souls-like. It's a platformer, but then the combat is really, really good. It's pretty in-depth. You got all these different, whatever builds you can do, lots of moves to use. And the graphics don't even get me started about the art style. The pixel art is absolutely gorgeous. Some of the most beautiful pixel art I have ever seen in any game. Maybe the best pixel art I've ever seen in any game. I think the first Blasphemous game, I really think this is one of the just one of the best art styles I've ever seen. Gruesome, absolutely, absolutely disgusting, horrible, vile, but like so evocatively so. I love it. I don't know why. It's great. So like basically Blasphemous and Blasphemous 2, absolutely fantastic games. Really, really just excellent projects, and you can see the DNA from other series, you know, throughout the ages. You know, you could probably see some Ninja Gaiden in there. Like they have proven that they can make this kind of game and make it really, really well with the combat and the platforming and the mechanics and the world building, the level design, and the visuals. And I don't know who got the conversation rolling first, but someone at Koei Tecmo, right? Ninja Gaiden? I don't know. Someone got the conversation rolling, and they did it. They did the thing. Somebody went to Game Kitchen and said, hey, you make really good 2D action games. We could really use a new 2D Ninja Gaiden. And so there you go. They're just kind of doing it now. And like, it's so perfect. It is the best of all worlds. Game Kitchen gets to work on this cool game. They probably get paid really well to work on a well-known IP, work with a major publisher, so it probably works out for them. Would not be surprised if a lot of the people at Game Kitchen are fans of classic Ninja Gaiden and probably relishing the opportunity to make a real Ninja Gaiden game. So you have that aspect. And then Koei Tecmo, they don't even have to work. They don't even have to do anything. Obviously, they do. You know what I'm saying. They don't even have to dedicate any of their in-house teams. Do they have in-house teams? I don't know much about the company, but you know what I'm saying. They have a studio, a competent and passionate studio working on this game for them. And we get a new, beautiful looking 2D Ninja Gaiden game from a really super well-established studio. It's perfect. It's everybody wins. And as for the game itself, like I said, I'm not a Ninja Gaiden guy, so I'm not like super familiar with all this stuff. I don't even really like quite know like the format. Aren't these usually kind of linear? Is there a chance that this will end up being more Metroidvania-y, or maybe it is just gonna be more linear? I really don't know, but clearly it looks great. The art style, of course, is great. I love it because you get to see like the really excellent artistic skills and sensibilities of the Game Kitchen art team. Like you can see it's this really just incredibly fine, detailed pixel art, but it's Ninja Gaiden, so it's a little bit more cartoony. It's a little bit more colorful, a little more expressive than Blasphemous was. And it's perfect. Everything is colorful. I don't know. It looks really good. The gameplay looks good. We see a whole bunch of different like mechanics and whatnot moving through this place. Super cool. I'm bummed about the cinematic. Blasphemous, the first one, had pixel art cinematics, and I loved that. And then they went over to like anime style, like just regular 2D animation. A little bit bummed about that. They've carried that over here. I could sort of understand it. It's probably more affordable. It's probably a little bit easier to do, or at least simpler to do. I really don't know. So that's a very slight bummer. But like, no, like at least in game, everything I am seeing here just looks great. The enemy designs, just the concepts, the moves and everything. It looks really good. And I have absolute full, perfect faith in the project. I have complete faith that it's gonna turn out well. And you know what? Dotemu? Dotemu? I don't know how you pronounce it. I think it's Dotemu. I want to say Dotemu, but I've heard Dotemu. Whatever. They are developing quite the reputation of taking these old series and creating great new versions of them, new iterations of these old series. They previously did a new Streets of Rage, and then they did a really great Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And now they're doing Ninja Gaiden. Like, it's cool. Like, that's a really neat little niche to carve out for yourself there. Especially if you're working with great indie studios. Like, you pick out you have access to this IP. You pick out the perfect studio for it. You work together. You make a great game. And that's another thing to add to this conversation. Like, you know, obviously there's like kind of a divide between like the lower budget indie, like 2D, indie games or whatever, and then you've got the big, crazy, big budget AAA games, whatever. And like, sure, maybe on some level, these smaller projects have a little bit less reach, maybe less potential sales, possibly in some or a lot of cases. But for the most part, we like these games. We really we really do. Maybe even if the sales potential is a little bit less, clearly you can make a game like this on a fraction of the budget of a bigger game, and you can still sell. It can still sell really, really well. I don't have my finger on the pulse of the Ninja Gaiden community, but I will not be surprised if there are plenty of Ninja Gaiden fans of the originals, of the classics, who are gonna look at this, who are gonna play this and just be like, this is everything I could have wanted. This is perfect. It's everything I could have wanted. We love games like this. We absolutely do. We are absolutely satisfied with games like this. So yes, when it comes to these projects that can be done on a smaller budget, it's just so perfect. It's a match made in heaven when you get the big publisher working with the little indie developer to make something like this. Yes, it would be a lot more complex if it was like, hey, Game Kitchen, can you make a 3D game for us? Like, can you, like, of course there's gonna be some growing pains there. But this right here, just like, hey, can you whip up a 2D Ninja Gaiden game for us? I don't know. It's just perfect. And it's yeah, again, it's one of those things that's just, it's so perfect when it happens, and you wish it could happen a little bit more often. And whenever it does happen, it just excites me. And it's also just really cool to see the Game Kitchen thriving. Blasphemous was their first game, and it did really well, and they made a sequel. They're working on another 1 or 2 games. Now you got this. I don't know. It's just great to see really talented developers really thriving, really doing well. It's really nice to see.